No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for October 28th, 2024. WWE Crown Jewel is this coming Saturday on Peacock. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. We're coming off Halloween Havoc. It was brought up on commentary at the start of the show. We had a recap of last week with Jimmy and Jey Uso getting back together. Raw kicked off in the ring with main event Jey Uso. He talked about what happened the last few weeks, but he said there's only one Uso that he wants to talk to, and that's his brother, Jimmy. Jimmy made his entrance from SmackDown, coming out there on Raw. He did thank Jey and said they need to be together. The new bloodline, they ain't the ones. But Jey noted that the Usos ain't the ones either. Jey said that he hasn't seen Jimmy in 6 months since WrestleMania 40. A lot has changed since then. Jey brought up how he became Intercontinental Champion by himself. But when it's all said and done, nothing tops being Jimmy's twin brother. Jimmy wanted to hug, but Jey stopped him, said there are still things they need to fix. Jey said that if he were to team up with Jimmy again, they're not going to be Roman Reigns' yes men. And Jimmy responded by inviting Jey to SmackDown to squash the beef with Roman Reigns. Now, Jey said he'll be there, but then all of a sudden we had the attack. The Tongas came out there, and then Jacob Fatu was in there. Solo Sikoa was on the outside. He was instructing them to take out the Usos. But when a chair was put around Jey's neck, Jacob Fatu was going to do some serious damage, but Jey was able to escape that. The Usos regrouped. They super kicked everyone, including Jacob Fatu, out of the ring, but Solo held the bloodline back, and then Adam Pearce came out there with WWE officials, and that led to our first segment of Raw coming to an end. I thought it was a very good segment, and I like that Jey hasn't completely forgiven Roman Reigns, and it's not a sure thing that they're going to work together. There are still issues to be worked out. Now, we do have a follow-up on SmackDown coming up this Friday, as SmackDown was already taped. You could check out the spoilers over on NoDQ.com. Backstage, Adam Pearce was on the phone with Nick Aldis. Apparently, Pearce agreed to the Usos, namely Jimmy, being on Raw, but not the rest of the bloodline. And then Judgment Day showed up. They wanted to know who Dominik was going to face in the main event of Raw. And Adam Pearce revealed that it's the former world champion, Damian Priest. And Dom remained confident, said he'll take care of things. I really did not understand the point of hyping up a mystery opponent, a former world champion, if it was just going to be Damian Priest. I think WWE should have just announced Dominik versus Damian Priest on Raw. Why did they hype up a mystery opponent just for it to be Priest? That really made no sense to me. So as soon as they announced this, I'm like, well, whatever. Anyways, we had Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser in a match, opening match on Monday Night Raw. It was solid. Kaiser was able to avoid a power bomb on the outside, and then he put on this guillotine, but Sheamus was able to send him into the steel steps. They both managed to beat the referee's 10 count. And then after the commercial break, Sheamus did the 10 beats. He came up off the top with a clothesline, but Kaiser was able to regroup. He powerbombed Sheamus out of the corner. He started smacking Sheamus around, which actually just fired up Sheamus. And Sheamus caught Kaiser with a knee and then hit the bro kick to pick up the 1-2-3 victory. No real surprise here. Sheamus gets the win. He builds up a little bit of momentum. And I guess this storyline is done with now. Is Sheamus going to go for Gunther in the world title? I guess time will tell on that one. Backstage, we had a Rhea Ripley video package, and she said that Liv Morgan will have to kill her to stop her. And that was pretty straightforward. Not much else to say about it. Now, here's when things started to get really interesting on Raw. Sami Zayn showed up when the Usos were backstage and said he wanted to talk to Jey alone. So Jimmy walked off, and Sami Zayn, he said he's not understanding what Jey is doing. Jey responded by saying Solo Sikoa is worse than Roman Reigns. And Zayn responded by saying he's not picking sides, and he doesn't think Jey should be picking a side either. Zayn thinks that Jey should continue to be his own man and not get involved. Jey responded by saying that Zayn wouldn't understand because Zayn isn't family. And Zayn was pretty much at a loss for words. This was quite the line here. He ain't family, even though we all know Sami Zayn was the honorary Us. I'm glad they're doing this. Now we're getting Sami Zayn in the mix. We're building up towards Survivor Series. And Sami Zayn is very much out of the loop with all this, but we'll see what happens. And there was more, so stay tuned. I'm liking this so far. I'm glad that we're getting Zayn in the mix. Shout out to Hamp Kano, who sent in a $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Hamp says, 4-week 2002 finale. Triple H says Kane has a burnt little wiener. A video was shown of doctors pulling Triple H's head out of his ass, and Kane beats Triple H in a casket match. The story is officially dropped. I forgot most of this storyline besides the Katie Vick segment. I try to erase all of that stuff from my memory, as I think most of us did, because it was, in fact, one of the worst storylines in WWE history. But thank you for the history lesson. That was 22 years ago in WWE history with Kane and Triple H, and it was rough. Rough times. That was a dark period in the history of Monday Night Raw. We had a singles match, Zelina Vega versus Ivy Nile. Zelina got in a lot of offense in this match, which tells me she's losing. I mean, she got in quite a bit. She was dominating before the commercial break. She did this Meteora off the apron to the outside. And then after the break, she came off the top with a moonsault. Didn't really get all of it, but still went for the cover. Ivy kicked out of it. And then, surprise, surprise, you had American Made getting involved. They helped out Ivy, saved Ivy from being hit with Code Red. Then the LWO brawled with American Made, but what was done, and Ivy was able to take advantage of the interference and pick up the win over Zelina Vega. Match was very standard, not much to it. It was actually the only women's match on the show. Now that Raw is 2 hours, looks like the women's division is getting a little bit of a loss of TV time. But hey, no pure Fusion Collective, so I guess it can't all be bad, right? We had Jey and Jimmy backstage, and Jey made it clear to Jimmy that when Jimmy left, Sami Zayn stepped up. And Jimmy said he wanted to talk to Sami Zayn, and Jey thought maybe that was a bad idea, but Jimmy walked off. He went off to find Sami Zayn. More on that in just a few moments. We had Seth Freakin Rollins coming out for a promo. He's on the hunt for a monster, Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman appeared in the parking lot. He called out Rollins to fight. So Rollins did, in fact, go to the backstage area. Adam Pearce, the general manager, tried to stop him, but Rollins continued. He brawled with Reed in the parking lot, and then Rollins gave Reed the curb stomp on a car, and Reed was seemingly knocked out. Rollins started looking at the camera, cutting a promo, but then all of a sudden Reed popped back up, and they got into this production truck. They were inside of it, and then Rollins ended up taking a Death Valley driver. Reed took him off the truck and sent him through these tables that were set up below. And Bronson Reed got the last laugh here heading into the pay-per-view. You know what that means. I think Seth freaking Rollins is picking up the victory. Did I say Braun Strowman? I mean, there's so many Brauns. Braun Breaker, Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed. And that's why Vince didn't like guys having the same name on one show, because it would get confusing like that. And that's actually one of the things I would agree with Vince on. You know, you should try to have people with different names. And I never liked how AEW had Adam Page and Ethan Page and Brian Cage and Christian Cage. Just drove me nuts. At least Ethan Page left, so there's one less guy with a Page or a Cage in his name. All right, moving on here. So yeah, I think Seth Rollins is winning at Crown Jewel. Why are people saying happy birthday? My birthday is November 22nd. The Rock's birthday is May 2nd, you stupid son of a bitch. Hamp Connor, what is that from? You're the guy that knows all that history. Let me know in the chat room. We had The Miz apologizing to R-Truth backstage. You see, The Miz, he's scared of the Wyatt Six, so he's looking for any help he can get at this point. And Alpha Academy was there, and they were trying to talk R-Truth out of it, but R-Truth said he'll handle it, and they walked off. And R-Truth acted like he forgave The Miz for what The Miz did. And then The Miz ended up being laid out by R-Truth. R-Truth actually was smart for once. He didn't fall for The Miz's trick, and he wished Miz the best of luck against the Wyatt Six. By the way, no Wyatt Six on this show. No Braun Breaker on this show. Again, Raw's 2 hours right now. You can't get everybody on the show. It is what it is. We also had R-Truth walking past Pete Dunne, and R-Truth called him Butch. Don't know if that's going to lead to anything. So we had a little cameo from Pete Dunne on the show. We had our tag team #1 contenders match. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus the War Raiders versus the New Day. War Raiders returned last week on the taped episode of Monday Night Raw. The Raiders dominated both teams very early on in the match. They were just using their power. At one point, Dragon Lee got thrown over the top onto everybody else. But then after the break, it got more competitive. However, there were some miscommunication issues between Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. So whatever's going on with them, that continues to be a storyline. At one point, Kofi wanted to do their double team move but Xavier went after Rey Mysterio instead, and that backfired on them. Then Chad Gable showed up, and he put the ankle lock on Rey Mysterio, and then back in the ring, the War Raiders regrouped, and they delivered their springboard clothesline and German suplex combo to pin Kofi Kingston. And now they are the number one contenders for the tag team titles. We'll see if they pick up the championships in the future. Match was solid. Good match here. I'm still waiting for something significant with Kofi and Xavier. They're still teasing it. Either we get the breakup or Big E returns. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm still waiting for something, and I hope they pull the trigger on it soon. Good to see the War Raiders back and getting a push. We had The Miz backstage venting to Adam Pearce, upset that he got punched by R-Truth, wants some security. Pearce was laughing because right behind The Miz was the Final Testament. Karrion Kross told The Miz to find Bo Dallas and find out why the Wyatts are coming after Final Testament. And Karrion Kross warned that if Miz doesn't do this, he would break the legs of The Miz. We'll see where this goes. We did not see any confrontation on this show with The Miz and Bo Dallas. So again, 2-hour show. They can only do so much. They're probably saving it for next week. And that's the little cliffhanger for now. Will Miz be able to find Bo Dallas? Then, speaking of trying to find people, Jimmy was looking for Sami Zayn, and he found him. Jey was there, and they both noticed out in the parking lot, Sami Zayn was talking to Solo Sikoa. Why was he doing this? And Jimmy said this is proof that family is all they got. And Jey responded by saying, yeet. The plot thickens here. Why did Sami Zayn talk to Solo Sikoa? Is it just a misunderstanding? But I really liked this twist. I mean, I was not expecting this. I suspect that it was, in fact, some kind of a misunderstanding. And Sami Zayn will obviously get involved, and he will be on the OG Bloodline's side for Survivor Series. But yeah, everything's starting to fall into place for Survivor Series. And as Matthew says, maybe Solo's trying to get Sami on their side. I do not see Sami going heel, but I like that they're teasing this and getting Sami back into the mix with this storyline. I'm very intrigued by this. To me, everything with the Bloodline was the highlight of this Raw. Like, this is the most interesting story in WWE right now. I'm really enjoying it. We had our main event of the evening, which was Damian Priest versus Dominik Mysterio. Priest was dominating most of the match. He was dominating Dom, but Dominik did manage to send Priest into the ring post and did this dive to the outside. He did get in some offense, but then Damian Priest regained the upper hand and was perhaps on the verge of winning. But then we had Judgment Day showing up. Liv and Raquel distracted the referee. And you had JD McDonough and Carlito coming out there. Dominik, though, he was down. And Priest fought back against Carlito and JD. He used a steel chair on them. But he was so preoccupied with them that Dominik was able to roll up Priest and get the 1-2-3 victory with the old fruit roll-up. We haven't seen that in a while. Dominik wins, and then after the match, Priest gets his heat back. He gives Dominik the razor's edge. He gets the chair. He hits Dominik with the chair. He takes out Carlito with the South of Heaven choke slam, and then he gives one more to Dominik Mysterio, and Damian Priest, despite losing, gets the last laugh. So I guess now that means Dominik is facing Gunther for the championship. Kind of a weird storyline to me. I'm not sure where this is going. Priest will have to wait for his title match. Maybe it was just done to delay that for a bit. I don't know. I thought Raw was okay, but I still feel like it's gone a step down, funny enough, since the show went to 2 hours. It just doesn't feel like Raw is a priority right now. And really the main focus of the show was the SmackDown storyline, the bloodline. Like that's what I think carried Raw this week, was the bloodline and the continuation of that. And Crown Jewel kind of feels like an afterthought, at least on this episode of Raw. I'm much more looking forward to Survivor Series than Crown Jewel at this point. I'm just like, let's get past Crown Jewel. Let's get to War Games. So I give Raw a B-, and I mainly give it in the B range because of the bloodline. Otherwise, I might even have gone as low as a C+ on this one. Like it as Matthew says in the chat room, I do feel like it was a bit of a skippable show. Like you could have missed this one. Other than the bloodline stuff, I think this was a largely skippable show. And I'm still thinking it's going to be that way for the rest of the year until we get to the Netflix era, and that's when I think the switch is going to flip. They're going to flip the switch, and Raw will be the A show, and SmackDown will pretty much be the B show again, like it was several years ago. I really think come the new year, Raw will once again be the must-see show. But for now, it's kind of a lame duck period, as I said last week. And, WrestleMania season, things will pick up. SmackDown was great, though. The Bloodline storyline is continuing to cook, and I'm looking forward to what happens next with that. And that's my thoughts on Raw this week. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and tell a friend. Spread the word about the NoDQ.com channel. You can check out spoilers for Friday's SmackDown on NoDQ. I might actually do a stream on Friday night, despite it being a taped show. Maybe just to do like a revised predictions for Crown Jewel and see what they're doing for Roman Reigns. I'm still not really sure what the 7th match is for the card, and I'm trying not to spoil it for people that don't want to know what happens on SmackDown. But I may do like a revised final predictions on Friday night. But for sure, we got the No DQ review coming up Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, my wedding anniversary. And then AEW Fright Night Dynamite, Wednesday night. I'll be recapping that. And Halloween, I'm taking off because it's Halloween, my favorite holiday. Maybe something on Friday. And then Saturday, we got Crown Jewel. Of course, live coverage on NoDQ.com. And then I will be on the channel nice and early, probably around 4 Eastern, 5 Eastern, somewhere in that ballpark. I'll be on here to give my thoughts on Saturday about Crown Jewel. So stay tuned for all that. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy Halloween. Stay safe. Say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.